referenced my qualifications not being to par without why. And then there was commentary about basically a girl like me should be tanning on the beach. And that's a whole story in itself, and I could get much more in depth with it. But, I'm trying to appease. I'm going through the lesson book. I'm trying to teach myself how to fix the lesson plans. And I even went to the department head and I told her what had occurred, and I said, she just came into the room and told me that I'm not doing a good enough job. I need to fix the lesson plans. And she's rolling her eyes, and it's like, does everyone in this room understand that I'm a sub and that even at this point, I don't even work for you guys anymore? I'm from Kelly now. So I'm unintentionally off again today from work. I tried my best this morning to, get called into work, and it didn't work out. So today is another day that I didn't expect to be off from work, but unfortunately I am. As I've been posting in my last couple videos, I've been working as a substitute teacher for Miami-Dade Schools, and up until recently, we were just always told to come in every day. That's what we were always told. And with the only difference being, of course, holidays and days that the school was closed, or this rule where you had to take off 2 days per pay cycle. So that way the school didn't have to give you benefits. But we were always told, just come in. I called them out on this when we got the notice that we were going to be outsourced from Dade County employees to Kelly Education as a private company who would moderate substitutes. And so I went from going in every day knowing I was going to have work and pretty much always having something to do, was never goofing around, to being told essentially that I'm on call or at the best scheduled ahead of time. I'm scheduled ahead of time for very few days. I'm even having trouble in this video getting my head across this because the honestly emotional abuse has been so profound that it reaches a point like you don't even know what's what anymore. So it went from them really gaslighting us, telling us that we had nothing to worry about, we would be working every day, what are you complaining about, to then there was a 2-day period where they did schedule us every day ahead of time under something called principal request. Then they fired us from that and said they didn't have the budget. Now we're on call, and then one sub is told there's no availability Monday. Then you find out there is a sub working that day. Then that sub was told there's no availability the day you're working. It's kind of all over the place. And then they're lying to, the teacher requested them. And while that is sometimes the case, it's not always the case. It's just kind of all over the place. So the other day I wasn't able to get out the door on time because I didn't think I was working, and she called me last minute. She didn't even call me. She scheduled me last minute and then texted me, are you coming in? It's like, how would I even know I'm coming in? You didn't even text me. And so that day I couldn't make it. I'm scheduled only for a few days ahead of time out of the month. So 16 days, per 2 pay cycles, and it rolls over a little with the next week. So maybe a total, what would have been 19 days a month, the entire month. And I'm scheduled 4 days. So my income, because we used to be paid every 2 weeks, could go from $1,600 a month now to $500-600 a month. I have no idea what's going to be with it, and this is what I called them out on, and this is what I anticipated was going to occur. And they would gaslight, no, you're worried about nothing, and I ran and protected myself by getting another job. So today I woke up and actually went through the motions, as some of you might say to do, where I woke up super early. I was up at 5 in the morning. And not only that, but last night I kept refreshing the site. I kept where we're scheduled. I checked my phone. I checked my phone so much and was so in my head about am I working, am I not working, that 11 o'clock came along and I'm still not sleeping, and I'm checking my phone and the site to see if I got scheduled. So I didn't really even sleep. It's affecting my sleep because I don't know if when I wake up I'm going to work or not. So I woke up at 5, refreshed the site, checked my phone a million times every 10 minutes, and it's affecting my ability to even be present. In other words, I'm not sitting and eating breakfast. I'm not, on the computer understanding where I am because I'm refreshing it every 10 minutes to know if I'm working. And the morning went by, and I saw that I was not scheduled. And so my dad left for work and I wasn't scheduled, and I know that I'm scheduled for a few days this week, but for a few days this month, but I have no idea what the consistency is going to be, and I always knew that they were going to do this. And they gaslit the situation where they were trying to say that this was not going to occur, that I was crazy, I was imagining things, and that was not the case. There were subs that were in our supervisor's office the other day saying, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. It's like, is the second job that I acquired enough to pay my bills? No, but my dad and myself, who I live with, we are a 2-person household, and thankfully my dad works, and along with YouTube and being optimistic, I think we're going to get by. But I went out and protected myself by going out and getting another job, which I ended up actually really liking, and I feel validated, and it's creative, and it's much more within my realm. But they gaslit the situation that there was absolutely nothing to worry about. And I'm glad that I protected myself by getting another job. I went through the motions this morning of trying to appease them and get up last minute to go in. And quite frankly, it made me sick. I wasn't present as I was eating breakfast. My stomach was churning every minute because I'm watching the minutes tick by, 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, and I don't know if I'm going into work. I don't know if I'm taking my bag to go into work. I have no idea. So I just can't do that. I have to set some boundaries and tell the supervisor that you're either scheduling me in the worst case scenario the night before up to a certain hour, or ahead of time, because I can't do it. I can't do it to myself. It's emotional abuse to myself. It's not setting boundaries, and I've always had a real difficulty with that, with setting boundaries, whether it be in relationships or jobs. I've always had an issue with this, under this low ego, and in a sense probably comes from my younger years, where you just don't want to rock the boat and you don't want to do anything to make someone or something get rid of you. And what I realize is that I have not at this job been setting boundaries. There have been a number of times I'm going to have so many stories, and this is going to end up being a series on this channel, that boundaries should have been said or spoken up for myself. I'll give you a basic example. I was at work the other day, maybe a week or so ago, and I had a administrator come up to me and say to me, so I had the lesson plans, and the lesson plans were not only on the desk, but I went through the lesson plans with the department head teacher who oversees the class that I'm in. And I'm doing the lesson plans, for the day, getting everything organized. And the administrator comes into the room and she's like, the lesson plans that you have are not acceptable. And I'm like, what do you mean? These are the lesson plans that were left for me, and I just went over the lesson plans with the department head. And she's like, these lesson plans are not sufficient. The students are very advanced, and this is not sufficient. You need to create better lesson plans. And it's like, have you kind of forgotten that I am a sub? I'm coming in here as, the last case resort, or I'm coming in to fill a room. And she's like, you need to fix this. You need to go through the teacher's books, the teacher's editions, and you need to find better lesson plans so that the students are properly taught a proper education. It's like, and there was no reasoning with her. You could tell her left was right. It just, you could tell her anything and she would just say up is down. It just wasn't going to click. So I am in these situations constantly trying to appease. So what do I do in these situations? Instead of, being like, I'm a sub, what do you want from me? And I think in a very wish-washy way, I said something like that, I'm trying to appease. I'm going through the lesson book. I'm trying to teach myself how to fix the lesson plans. And I even went to the department head and I told her what had occurred, and I said, she just came into the room and told me that I'm not doing a good enough job, I need to fix the lesson plans, and she's rolling her eyes, and it's like, does everyone in this room understand that I'm a sub, and then even at this point, I don't even work for you guys anymore? I'm from Kelly now. I'm from a contractor. In other words, I don't, independent place, I don't work for you guys. I remember another story where there was another administrator who, this was last school year, went up to a woman who was assisting in a class assigned to a specific child who had autism. So this woman was like a behavioral therapist, but she was privately sourced and paid by the student's parents to be in the room with the student. This woman did not work for Dade Schools. She didn't work for Kelly's. She was the parents and the family, they had money, and they were able to afford this woman to come in during the day with their student, with the student. And I remember, the administrator went up to this behavioral therapist or aide, and she was chastising her about how she wasn't doing a good enough job in the class, and how when the students were at the cafeteria, she wasn't properly overseeing the entire class and her lunch duties and all this stuff. And I was just watching this woman, and in this case, the woman also is, shaking her head and trying to appease the situation, because you get into a situation where you just don't want to rock the boat, and you feel that somehow it'll get back to the parent, and then they'll make a complaint, and then they don't want you there, and you're not welcome there. But it's like, they have constantly treated, people this way. And I have one story after another that are, I think, going to make my audience just kind of like look like this, like, how is this possible? And for a long time, I also tolerated this because I wanted to give it my all. I had hopes that I was going to become a full-time instructor. This is so many stories in itself. I have what's called a statement of eligibility. So a statement of eligibility in social science means, which is what I have it in, that I am able to start teaching grades 6 through 12 in social science. So in other words, history, world history, all that stuff. At this time with the statement of eligibility, and then you have a certain amount of years to get all the other requirements you need done. And with that, I am able to be hired at a school and start working as a teacher. I have tried at multiple schools that are within a reasonable amount of distance to get hired with that, and I have been treated very badly with it. Some of the feedback I got was, some of you are going to be like, oh, you're just like being like with this, was related to appearance. There was a situation, and that probably needs its own video, where essentially the interview for the position with full-time teaching referenced my qualifications not being to par without why. And then there was commentary about basically a girl like me should be tanning on the beach, and that's a whole story in itself, and I could get much more in depth with it. But when people are saying like, oh, you live in Florida, isn't Florida desperate for teachers? They're not. And maybe during 3 years ago, when everyone was quitting and no one wanted to come into work, that may have been the case, but that's not the case now. That hasn't been happening. I know that I must try to figure out how to set boundaries. I am really receiving this kick in the butt, where if you asked me with a magic ball, what is my goals? What do I really want? I'd love to have it where I only have my second job that I acquired because I do enjoy being there, and to not be at this job that I've had for the last 3 to 4 years, depending on when you think about when I started anymore, or extremely minimal. And in a weird way, I think I put that out into the universe, and I think I'm getting my wish. I guess I wouldn't have done it myself, and unfortunately, I think in life a lot of times it has been my case. I don't want to be the one to put my foot down and be like, I'm not going to do this anymore, because I have difficulty setting boundaries. And the universe has always seemed to be the one that puts its foot down and says, this is not good for you anymore. We're going to remove you from this situation, whether you like it or not. So I believe that the consistency of this employment with the subbing has diminished and will continue to diminish, where it's going to be, like I said, it's going to go from 16 days within that 2 marking period of pay to probably 6. So it's gonna diminish, and during that time period, if you ask me, crystal ball, what did I always want? I wanted the time to work on my channel, which is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm passionate about: blogging, creating art, creating video art, and especially with working the 2 jobs, I didn't have a single day to myself. So it is ironically what I always wanted. I'm not just saying that, it is. But it's the kick in the butt that I wasn't willing to do to myself, because obviously it comes with a kind of scary shock level where you're like, oh, my income just got destroyed. But I have to also have some faith and say to myself, sometimes the best business things and things happen from people getting fired or losing their income. It forces them to say, hey, what am I passionate about, and am I willing now to give this my all? It's the guy, I think his name is Sean from Think Media. I watched one of his videos, and he talked about how he really got going with Think Media when I think he was talking about how he lost some of his income from video editing jobs he was doing before his channel really got going. And in a sense, it was the kick in the butt that you need to say, I am now going to give this my all. It's what I've always wanted. It is the kick in the butt because I wasn't willing to do it myself. It kind of came without intention. But, the days that I'm working as a sub are going to diminish, and they're going to be very inconsistent. There may be some trickle of income. It's scary because, yes, like I said, the income has been affected. But my dad, thankfully, is working, and we are a 2-person household. So if I really get strong-headed and stay on task and really focus on my ambitions with the channel and what I'm actually passionate about, which has always been what I've actually wanted, I may actually get what I wanted, just in a way that I didn't want to do it. Yeah, but sometimes the universe kind of knows what's best for us. So I have to have faith and kind of work my butt off, because this is what I've always wanted to do. So here I am on a day that I did not go to work, vlogging, creating art, and being very raw and honest about topics that I wasn't able to do before. So I just stepped into the grocery store. I'm going to see if there's any shorts I can do while I'm here, and then in a little bit I'll get food. So it's an interesting day. I also have not been kind of like practicing enough being on my own and being out, and that's something that I need to practice more, and it felt very weird yesterday doing it, but I need to practice being more independent. Honestly, being unintentionally off from work for 2 days is making me realize how badly I want to work my butt off, so that I only have my second job, which I actually like and is creative, and so that I don't have to do this anymore. Or this is going to be an entire series, because there's so much to say, but this is the motivation from the universe that I needed. I'm also normalizing talking about it and practicing taking myself out, which is something I don't do enough. I usually am either always with someone or at work, and I need to practice more, honestly, taking myself out. So I got myself a nice coffee and lunch, a little bacon Gouda egg sandwich at Starbucks, and I just need to practice doing this more. I used to do this all the time, and I honestly stopped. I think that the job, referring to the first job that I've had for the last 4 years or so, has honestly hurt my ego and my self-esteem. Whereas the second job is creative, and if anything helps you probably come out of your comfort shell. So I need to be mindful of this and honestly work on this a little bit. Little by little, it'll get easier taking myself out, trying to work on myself and my self-esteem. I'm just sitting at Starbucks. It's a weird transition because I am used to always being at work, and I'm trying to, I don't know, get used to a new adjustment. I have to kind of power through this and figure out the new norm now of what this work-life balance now looks like, because I was very used to just going into work, and I'm gonna have to figure out now my boundaries as to how, you know, this was pretty bad today where I woke up and was checking the site all morning to see if I had work. So I probably will have to have that conversation with my supervisor within the next day. That's not gonna work. So my dad has gotten home from work and we ate something at Starbucks. And what I wanted to kind of finish off in this video and talk about was that, although there's gonna be many more videos to come, is that I tried my very best to go through the motions today of working. I woke up at 5. I refreshed the computer every 5 to 10 minutes to see if I was working. And that process of not knowing, am I getting dressed? Am I not getting dressed? What is the cutoff point? Am I willing to go out the door? Am I willing to go downstairs and sit in the car? At what point is the cutoff point that I can't get to the job anymore? In other words, to go through that in the morning made me sick. It made me physically and mentally sick, and that cannot be done again. And I can't have it where I'm running out the door like a lunatic, or you know, there's a Starbucks that's very close to the school that I work, and have a situation where I'm sitting at the Starbucks in wait, because theoretically, I mean, I could be on call all the way till 9 in the morning. It's theoretically possible. You can't be like, oh, why can't you leave the house at 6 in the morning? It's like, because this process could continue all the way to who knows what time, 9:30 in the morning. So, bag just hit me. So, I can't do it in the morning. I have to know the day before. One of the other subs, when she was in the office with her, she even said to her, like, I need to know the night before. Like, it has to be a cutoff. I can't be in wait in the morning. It literally made me ill. And, you know, you want to tell me up until 8:30 or so in the evening the night before, or schedule me ahead, then that's what it's going to be. And if that means that for some reason my days have significantly dropped from the average of 16 a month, you know, within pay cycle, or 16 to 19 a month, to 5, then that's what it's going to be. You know, could she schedule me for all of my days ahead of time? Sure, but what she's doing is she's breadcrumbing, where I get 2 days ahead of time, the other sub gets 2 days ahead of time. It's like the bad Oprah skit. You get a car, except you get a day ahead. You get a day ahead. That sub gets 2 days ahead. We all get 2 days ahead. And she's breadcrumbing it, where she's literally, the meaning of breadcrumbing, throwing crumbs ahead of time with scheduling, and I can't do this. I can't, you know, you want to schedule me ahead of time, that's what it'll be. But I can't wake up in the morning and refresh the computer 30 times. I can't. It'll affect my ability to function. So this is going to be some lesson from the universe on setting boundaries, which I have never been able to do. And I'm going to work on that starting now. is, I guess, where I will leave you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna go pick up some last minute groceries and head home. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you soon in my next video. And bye.